Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to Crime Zone.
Authorities in Southern California say that a man accused of killing a sheriff's deputy was taken into custody this week after leading officers on a high-speed chase that ended in a violent crash, one that was captured live on television. The tragic chain of events began shortly after 12:30 p.m. on Monday, October 27th, when deputies in the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department responded to a domestic violence call on the 12,300 block of Hollyhock Drive. When they arrived, 28-year-old deputy Andrew Nunez and his partner encountered a man reportedly threatening a woman with a gun. Moments later, the suspect, identified as 47-year-old Angelo Jose Saldivar, allegedly opened fire, shooting Officer Nunez in the head before fleeing the scene on a motorcycle. Nunez was rushed to a nearby hospital but sadly did not survive. The 6-year department veteran leaves behind a pregnant wife, a 2-year-old daughter, his mother, and 4 siblings. Following the shooting, a region-wide pursuit began, involving multiple law enforcement agencies. Police say Saldivar sped east on the 210 freeway, reaching speeds of up to 170 miles per hour as officers chased him. Live footage showed the suspect weaving through traffic and at one point lifting both hands off the handlebars to grab his weapon. The pursuit ended when an unmarked sheriff's vehicle, driven by an off-duty narcotics deputy who had joined the chase, performed a, quote, pursuit intervention technique, deliberately colliding with Saldivar's motorcycle. The impact sent Saldivar flying through the air before hitting the pavement. Officers quickly surrounded and detained him. Saldivar was airlifted to a nearby hospital where he remains in stable condition. Authorities say he has no prior criminal record. San Bernardino County District Attorney Jason Anderson confirmed that his office intends to charge Saldivar with the murder of a peace officer, calling the case, quote, a deliberate and senseless act of violence. Experts told local media that the deputy's decision to end the chase by ramming the motorcycle was likely justified, given that the suspect had already killed an officer and posed an ongoing threat to the public. At a press conference following the disturbing crime, Sheriff Shannon Dykes described the loss of Officer Nunez as devastating, saying, quote, we're embedded in sorrow. Deputy Nunez served with unwavering commitment, courage, and deep compassion for the community he vowed to protect. Later that evening, law enforcement officers and firefighters gathered outside Arrowhead Regional Medical Center to salute Officer Nunez as his body was carried from the hospital. A motorcade then escorted him to the county coroner's office, a solemn tribute to a deputy remembered for his bravery, selflessness, and his ultimate sacrifice.
If you're a regular viewer of our Crimes of the Week series, you might remember that a couple of weeks back, we brought you an unsettling story out of Virginia. It was here, in the city of Alexandria, where a local family was the victim of a frightening attempted home invasion, one where the perpetrators repeatedly attempted to break in while wearing creepy Halloween costumes. If you recall, the whole thing started at around 10 p.m. on October 14th, when the family in question received a knock at their front door. They checked their Ring doorbell camera, only to discover 3 people dressed in masks. Moments later, they began shouting threats and pounding on the door, saying things like, quote, it's either you come out or we come in, and it's your worst nightmare. Open the up. One of the residents, Shayla Whiteside, attempted to get the suspects to go away. However, even after she told them she was calling 911, the threatening behavior continued. When they weren't able to get through the front door, the masked intruders went around the back, where they ripped a screen door, damaged a fence, and began pounding on the windows. The whole ordeal lasted for 10 minutes, with the suspects only fleeing shortly before police arrived. In an interview afterward, Shayla said that she initially believed the whole situation was a prank, but that changed as things escalated. She told reporters, quote, I said happy Halloween, but then they said they were going to kill us. They tried to enter into the home. My heart dropped when they said they were going to take a chair and break down the door. Well, unfortunately, it turns out Shayla's initial instincts were correct, because this week, Alexandria police released a frustrating update in the case. After more than 100 hours of investigative work, they determined that the culprits behind the disturbing incident were actually members of the victim's own family. According to authorities, they were able to trace everything back to a female cousin of Shayla's who roped her 2 sons and a nephew into the so-called prank. The 3 boys, ages 14 to 16, were the ones in the costumes, while 2 other adults hid nearby and filmed everything as it unfolded. While it appears the whole thing was fun and games for the perpetrators, police say that's not the case for Shayla and her family. They said there's no evidence they were in on what happened, so they really were terrified and afraid for their lives when they called 911 that night. Because of that, it's easy to see how things could have ended far worse. In addition to the damaged property at the house, police say that Shayla called her brother during the incident, who came to the house armed and prepared to defend the family. Despite the wasted police resources, officials say that no further actions are being taken, as the victims asked authorities not to press charges against their family members. As a result, the names of those responsible have not been released. Speaking about the incident this week, though, Alexandria Police Chief Tariq McGuire once again emphasized how dangerous this was. In a statement, he said in part, quote, "While this case may not result in prosecution, it represents a serious moral failure. Pranks of this nature are not taken lightly. Actions like these could have had deadly consequences. Adults must be accountable for their children, and parents have a moral responsibility to guide and correct their behavior."
Representatives from the NYPD say that they're on the hunt for a trio of burglars this week after they managed to pull off a daring daylight heist earlier this month worth more than $3 million, all well disguised as construction workers. According to investigators, the brazen crime unfolded around 2:20 in the afternoon on Thursday, October 16th at a home near 160th Street and 84th Drive in Queens. Security footage shows a blue Hyundai Elantra pulling up outside the residence before two men, dressed in reflective vests and white hard hats, head straight for the back of the house. Police say the two men forced open a rear door and went inside, while a third accomplice, wearing a white hoodie, black gloves, and black pants, waited in the car with the engine running. Once inside, the suspects located a safe and a collection of jewelry valued at roughly $3.2 million. In a matter of minutes, the men carried the stolen goods outside, loaded them into the Hyundai, and sped off before anyone could react. Authorities say no one was home at the time of the burglary, and thankfully, no injuries were reported. So far, detectives have not released any information about why the thieves targeted the home or how they knew there were millions of dollars worth of valuables inside. Police say they're still working to determine whether the property was specifically scouted out or if it was randomly targeted. After escaping with the safe and jewelry, the suspects were last seen driving away in the Hyundai. Authorities believe the group may have ties to other high-value burglaries in the area, though that has not yet been confirmed. Investigators are now asking for the public's help in identifying the men. Anyone with information is urged to contact NYPD Crime Stoppers either by phone or online.
Authorities in Michigan say that a 35-year-old nanny has been charged with first-degree murder after allegedly stabbing her employer's father to death with a screwdriver, then running naked through the neighborhood covered in blood while chasing another family member and a toddler. According to investigators, the horrific incident unfolded on Friday, October 24th, in a quiet residential area of Royal Oak, just outside of Detroit. Police say the nanny in question, Samantha Booth, had been babysitting a 3-year-old girl when she appeared to suffer a sudden manic episode inside the family's home. When Booth stopped answering calls and texts from the child's parents, who were out of town, they asked the girl's grandfather, 83-year-old David Ong, to stop by and check in on things. Not long after Ong arrived, communication with him also abruptly stopped. Concerned, the toddler's uncle went to the house, only to find a nightmarish scene in the basement. Booth was allegedly covered in blood and holding a screwdriver near the child and Ong's body, who had sustained multiple head wounds. Police say that when the uncle tried to intervene, Booth lunged at him, forcing him to fend off several attacks before he was able to grab the little girl and run outside. Witnesses say Booth then chased the uncle and young girl down the street while screaming and wielding the screwdriver. In a statement afterwards, Royal Oak Police Chief Michael Moore told reporters, quote, "She was actually chasing him down the street as he was screaming for help. Neighbors heard it and ushered him and the child inside. She attacked the victim repeatedly with a screwdriver, an absolutely horrific crime." When officers arrived, Booth was still in the area behaving erratically. Investigators say she stripped off her clothes and attempted to flee before being tackled and taken into custody. Police later found suspected psychedelic mushrooms and marijuana in her bag, though it's unclear whether she was under the influence of either drug at the time. According to the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office, Booth confessed to the killing after her arrest, allegedly telling officers from the back seat of a squad car, quote, "I f***ed him the f*** up. And yes, I did it. God, it was too easy." She has been charged with first-degree murder, second-degree child abuse, felony assault, and 3 counts of resisting and obstructing police. Prosecutors say Booth had been the family's nanny for 2 years and had no prior criminal record. She was arraigned on October 28th, but refused to appear on camera during a virtual hearing, stripping in her cell and lying on the floor. A not guilty plea was entered on her behalf, and she was denied bond. David Ong's family, meanwhile, has described him as a gentle, kind man who died protecting his granddaughter. In a tribute posted online, his daughter wrote, quote, "Anyone who knows my dad knows that he is a gentle giant, a man of incredible kindness, love, and faith. The loss is immeasurable." Booth remains in custody and is scheduled to appear in court again on November 7th.
Police in the wealthy Connecticut town of New Canaan say that a 20-year-old man is facing murder charges this week after allegedly beating his mother to death inside their home before running into the woods screaming for her. According to officials, the shocking incident began just after 10:30 p.m. on Friday, October 24th, when officers were dispatched to the area after reports of a man yelling "Mama" from the woods. Minutes later, 911 dispatchers received a call from the same man, who identified himself as Sebastian von Stockham, and said he had just killed his mother. When officers arrived at the family's home, they found Van Stockham at the door, his clothes, face, and hands covered in blood. He was immediately taken into custody. Nearby, first responders discovered 55-year-old Laura Williams lying outside on the grass with catastrophic head injuries, including a cracked skull. A hammer smeared with blood was found beside her. Police say attempts to revive Laura with CPR were unsuccessful, and she was pronounced dead at the scene. Medical examiners later confirmed that Laura died from blunt force injuries to her head and ruled her death a homicide. A police report said she had also suffered skull fractures consistent with repeated blows. Van Stockham allegedly told policers at the scene that he, quote, did it, admitting he used his fists, a knife, and a hammer during the attack, and that he was, quote, not mentally well. Prosecutors described the killing as especially violent. During a court appearance this week, state's attorney Paul Fennerchek told the judge that the victim, quote, was found bludgeoned to death with extreme trauma to her skull. Van Stockham's defense attorney, meanwhile, called the case a terrible shock, urging against rushing to judgment. Family members later told local media that Van Stockham grew up in New York City and northern New Jersey before moving with his mother to New Canaan, where she worked as a high-end antiques dealer. Laura, originally from Charlottesville, Virginia, was a Georgetown University graduate and a former writer and artist who had also worked briefly in film production in Los Angeles. Neighbors described the mother and son as private but friendly, saying there had been no prior signs of trouble. The investigation remains ongoing, but police confirmed there was no other suspects and that the attack happened inside the home shortly before Van Stockham's 911 call. If convicted, Van Stockham faces a minimum of 25 years in prison.
Police in Yavapai County, Arizona have released bizarre and embarrassing new body cam footage this week in connection with a recent crime after a judge and her husband made national headlines following a wild incident in which the female court official was allegedly caught drunkenly urinating and exposing herself in public. The bizarre situation unfolded just after 1:30 a.m. on October 4th when officers were called to a busy area in downtown Prescott following multiple reports of a woman allegedly relieving herself in public. When officers arrived, witnesses pointed them toward a patch of shrubbery where they found a woman attempting to pull up her pants. According to police, that woman turned out to be 42-year-old Christine Schaff Olson, a judge pro tempore with the Yavapai County Superior Court. Body cam footage obtained by a local news station shows Schaff Olson stumbling as she tries to compose herself while officers question her. Police reports state that she appeared heavily intoxicated and was unable to even spell her own name correctly when asked for identification, though she was quick to remind officers that she was, in fact, a judge. In the footage, one of the responding officers can be heard saying, quote, "This is disgusting," before adding, "This is unacceptable." The situation escalated moments later when Schaff Olson's husband, Jason Olson, arrived. Jason, who happens to be the Parks and Recreation Manager for the nearby town of Chino Valley, began pulling his wife away from the scene, repeatedly ignoring police instructions to step back. Instead, he started demanding to know why his wife was being questioned, leading to this interaction.
Are you her husband?
Yep.
Okay. Can you hang out over by the cab for me?
Nope. Come on.
Yeah, you can, because I'm conducting an investigation. For what?
Because I just saw her puking and urinating, exposing herself to several people.
That wasn't her.
Okay, you can go by the cab or you can continue to interfere with the investigation.
Okay. Come on, baby.
Okay.
No.
Last chance, go over to the cab.
No.
Okay, well, then you're detained.
Stop.
You can't do this.
I'm going to throw you on the ground if you resist. I gave you several chances and you don't want to listen.
We have a cab. There, baby.
As you just saw, tensions continued to escalate, ending with Jason being taken down, handcuffed, and placed into a patrol car before other officers arrived at the scene. A short time later, the arresting officer can be heard explaining the situation to another responder, stating, quote, "She has her pants completely down. I'm watching her right there. She's peeing everywhere. A bunch of people see. I see. She's useless. She can't even spell her name." Schaff Olson was cited for public urination and released at the scene, while Jason was taken into custody on charges of resisting arrest, interfering with a crime scene investigation, and obstruction of government operations. Both incidents were captured on body cam video, which has since gone viral. In the footage, Schaff Olson can also be heard slurring her words and telling the officer she was, quote, "waiting for an Uber," before gesturing toward her husband and saying, "He has my license." Just 2 days after the incident, Schaff Olson submitted her resignation, stepping down from her position as judge, a role she'd only held since October of 2023. In a written statement, she said her decision came after, quote, "careful consideration of physical, medical, and family circumstances," adding that she no longer felt able to fulfill her duties to the Yavapai County community. Presiding Judge John Napper later released a statement saying he respected Schaff Olson's choice and thanked her for her service. Her replacement will now need to be appointed by the Chief Justice of the Arizona Supreme Court and approved by county officials. Schaff Olson has also self-reported to the Arizona Commission of Judicial Conduct, which has confirmed it is reviewing the case. Her final day on the bench was on Halloween, following her resignation. Meanwhile, Jason Olson is due to appear in court on November 18th. The judge's citation carries a fine of up to $300, while her husband's charges could result in additional penalties if convicted. For now, both remain out of custody as the commission's investigation moves forward, closing one of the more embarrassing and surreal episodes in recent Arizona judicial history.
Representatives from Kansas's Sedgwick County Sheriff's Office say that a former TV news anchor has been arrested and is facing charges this week following a disturbing Halloween murder in which she allegedly killed her own elderly mother, then gave a bizarre excuse for her actions. The whole thing began at around 8 a.m. on October 31st when a couple driving through a quiet neighborhood in Wichita were suddenly stopped in the middle of the road by an alarming scene. A woman, later identified as 47-year-old Angeline Mock, came staggering out of her nearby home. She was covered in blood, approached the couple's vehicle, and asked to borrow a phone to call 911. The startled couple handed over one of their phones, at which point Mock reportedly ran back inside the house. Once there, she called police, making a chilling confession. The 47-year-old claimed she had, quote, stabbed her mother to save herself. Despite the claim of self-defense, when officers arrived at the scene, they found Mock standing outside in no apparent danger. She had cuts to her hands, but that was nothing compared to what police found inside. Upon entering the home, they found Mock's 80-year-old mother, Anita Avers, lying unresponsive in her bed. She had suffered multiple stab wounds, and though she was rushed to a nearby hospital, sadly, she died just 30 minutes later. At the time of this recording, almost no additional information is available about the crime, including a motive or what might have happened in the lead-up to the killing. However, what we do know is that Angeline Mock has been arrested on a charge of first-degree murder. According to reports, the 47-year-old once had a successful news career. From 2011 to 2015, she was a morning and evening fill-in anchor for KTVI Fox 2, which is based out of St. Louis, Missouri. As for her mother, Anita, she spent her career working as a marriage and family therapist. At the time of this recording, Mock remains in custody on a $1 million bond.
Authorities in upstate New York say that a 30-year-old man is facing murder and arson charges in connection with a truly heinous crime this week, after he allegedly killed his girlfriend and newborn son before setting their apartment on fire with all of them inside. The disturbing case began on the morning of October 18th, when the Buffalo Fire Department received reports of a blaze at an apartment on Norwood Avenue around 8:35 a.m. When firefighters arrived, they found the home engulfed in flames. Once inside, they made a heartbreaking discovery. 29-year-old Kathleen Katie Carrig and her 4-day-old son Noah were both found unresponsive. Despite rescue efforts, both Katie and baby Noah were pronounced dead at the scene. The fire, which investigators say caused roughly $100,000 in damage, was later determined to be intentionally set. Also found at the scene was Katie's boyfriend, 30-year-old Kadani Hale, who was rescued from the burning home and transported to a nearby hospital to be treated for smoke inhalation. Following an investigation, the Erie County Medical Examiner ruled Katie's death a homicide caused by asphyxia due to strangulation. Prosecutors alleged that Hale killed Katie before deliberately starting the fire with gasoline. Hale was discharged from the hospital on October 22nd and immediately taken into custody. He was indicted and arraigned the next day on 1 count of second-degree murder in connection with Katie's death. Following further investigation, Noah's death was also declared a homicide, the result of, quote, asphyxiation and/or thermal injuries. On October 30th, Hale was slapped with several more charges, including first-degree murder, second-degree murder, and third-degree arson. According to reports, Hale worked as a college financial aid advisor at the University of Buffalo. In a statement, the university extended condolences to the victim's family, saying it was, quote, aware of the serious charge against Kadani Hale, and noted that it has a disciplinary process in place for employees accused of criminal activity. District Attorney Michael J. Keene called the case, quote, a tragic death of a young mother and her newborn baby, adding that his office is committed to pursuing justice for both victims. An obituary described Katie as a devoted and loving mother, daughter, sister, and friend, someone remembered for her kindness and compassion. Unfortunately, right now, we have essentially no insight into why this awful incident took place. However, authorities confirmed Hale is being held without bail, and if convicted, faces a maximum sentence of 25 years to life in prison. Hey there. Before you take off, we'd just like to take a second and say that we really appreciate you sticking around to the end of the video. Luke and I are so grateful for our incredible Crime Zone community, so thank you for being a part of it. If you want to help Crime Zone continue to grow, one of the easiest things you can do is leave a like on this video and consider subscribing. Be sure to hit that notification bell as well and select all notifications to stay up to date with our latest releases. If you're looking for additional ways to support the channel, there are a couple of options. We've got a thriving community over on Patreon, where you can get ad-free and early access to all of our content, as well as 4 additional stories per week for each of our Crimes of the Week and Crimes of the Week International videos. Head over to patreon.com/crimezone to learn more and to meet some of the awesome people whose names are currently on screen. If that isn't your thing, we've also now launched channel memberships so you can join directly here on YouTube. Channel members get a lot of the same perks as on Patreon, including extra content, without the added hassle of having to go off-platform. Now, that being said, we know times are tough and that not everyone is able to support financially. Regardless of your situation though, we want you to know that we truly appreciate every like, sub, share, and comment that you send our way. Once again, thanks so much, and we hope to see you soon.